You have typed this and deleted it before anyone saw. Are these Korean men gay? Or is it just you? You hold another man a bit too long, and the thought lands before you can stop it. You're not the only one. I ran a live channel for years. That question came in every night. From women, from men. So here's the real question. Why is gay the first place your mind went? Not their mind, yours. And tonight I'll show you who put it there. This is Simon Records. This one lands close. Let me tell you what your brain did in the half second before the embarrassment caught up to it. It tried to file him. Every face you ever see gets dropped into a drawer somewhere, whether you notice the sorting or not. And your brain went hunting for the right drawer to put this one in. The problem is that the West only ever built two. The first drawer is the hard man. He does not cry, and he does not dance, and he does not look at his own face in the mirror any longer than it takes to drag a razor across it. He is allowed to be a soldier or a guy who fixes the sink and grunts about it. That drawer is wide and warm, and most of the men you grew up around were filed inside it before they could walk. The second drawer is the gay man. Soft and styled, and unmistakably aware of how he looks. Somewhere back there, the West decided that anything tender in a man belongs in this drawer and absolutely nowhere else. That is the entire cabinet. Two drawers and a wall of air between them. So watch what happens when a Korean man walks onto your screen. He has got the jaw that belongs in the first drawer sitting right on top of the skin that belongs in the second. He whips in one scene and breaks three men in an alley in the next, and then pulls on a coat that costs more than your car. Without one flicker of apology, your brain grabs for a drawer and finds that not one of them closes around him. And the brain that cannot file a thing does not wait around politely. It gets nervous. It snatches the nearest drawer that matches even a single detail and slams it shut so the discomfort will go away. He is soft. Soft lives in the gay drawer. Done. You never reason your way to that word. You got sorted there by a machine you did not build and were never once shown the blueprint for. It was elimination. It was never evidence. And one thing about this should keep you up tonight. A man exactly like him used to be completely ordinary. Not in Seoul. Here, where you actually live. There was a third drawer in this cabinet once, and it was the widest one in the whole thing. Then one afternoon somebody pulled it out and carried it into the yard and set the wood on fire. I know the afternoon. I can walk you right to it. Let me show you the day the West burned the third kind of man. Wong. 200 years ago, the man you could not classify tonight would have been the most respected man in the room. That is not a turn-off phrase. I mean a real man in a real room with a real name and nobody behind their hand about him. Back then, a man could go pale at the sight of a woman and lose none of his standing. He could write her a letter so long it needed its own envelope, and the length was the entire point. He could wear lace at his throat and a ring on 3 fingers and weep out loud at a piano, and the whole room would lean in and call it depth. Not one person in that room reached for the word you reached for. They had a different word. They called him a man of feeling, and it was a category a man was proud to belong to. The poet lived in that drawer. So did the romantic and the officer who dueled at dawn and cried at the opera the very same night. These were not soft men hiding behind a hard act. They were hard men who were allowed to be soft in one body at 1 hour, with nobody on earth demanding they pick a side. Then the West got itself an economy. It built factories, and the factories needed a different animal entirely. They needed men who could stand at a machine for 12 hours and feel close to nothing about it. Feeling got in the way. Feeling slowed the line, and the line was money. So the culture did something very quiet and very enormous. It retired the man of feeling. First it called him weak. Then it called him a man who tries too hard. In the end, it just called him gay and shut the case. The widest drawer in the cabinet got emptied and the wood got broken down into something more useful. I follow what that does to a person built like you. You pull an entire kind of man out of circulation. The men who are left adjust fast. They learn that silence reads as strength, and that wanting anything out loud is a kind of surrender, and they go cold just to survive the room. But the women who were built to love the other man do not disappear along with him. You cannot kill a hunger by closing the kitchen. The hunger just sits down and waits, quietly, for a very long time. And that is the woman who finds the screen at midnight. Not a foolish woman, a woman whose great-grandmother had a whole shelf of men to choose from, and who herself got handed 2 drawers and got told that was the complete truth about men. So when he finally walks back into the room, on a screen, out of soul, crying and fighting and dressed like the morning was worth dressing for, every cell in you knows him a half second before your brain can file him wrong. That is not confusion, that is memory. The West did not discover that gentle men are gay. The West manufactured gentle straight men for centuries and then burned the recipe and handed you the ashes and called the ashes common sense. Korea never burned the recipe. That is the whole difference between over there and right here. But do not go soft on me yet. Because keeping the recipe is one thing. What Korea actually does with it is colder than any of this nostalgia. Korea does not let this man happen. Korea built him on purpose inside a building I have stood in. And what it costs to build him is going to sit wrong in your chest. Let me take you inside. I have stood inside the building that makes this man so. Let me tell you what the softness actually is. It is not softness at all. It is discipline wearing softness as a uniform. Start with the skin you keep calling feminine. It did not grow that way on its own. It got formed like a crop that dies the moment you stop tending it. 2 cleansers at night, and a toner, and an essence, and 1 serum for under the eye, and a different one for beside the nose, and sunscreen every single morning of his life, including the mornings he could not stand the face he was protecting. That face you are filing under gay belongs to a man who treats his own skin the way a soldier treats the rifle he sleeps next to. Every day. No days off. No negotiation. Your eye walks straight into a trap. In the West, a straight man proves he is straight by not carrying the wrinkled shirt, whatever razor was cheapest that week, a face left out in the weather like a tool nobody bothered to bring in. Over there, the effort itself gets read as the confession. So the second the West sees a man who obviously cares, it decides the caring is the evidence. Look how hard he is trying. He must be one of them. But in Korea, the trying is not a confession. The trying is just the floor everybody is already standing on. A man here maintains himself the way an athlete maintains a career that ends the day he stops. The gym before the sun is up. The diet with no mercy written into it anywhere. The cut every 2 weeks, and the posture and the weight tracked like a number on an exchange. This is a country that looked at self-management and decided it was not vanity at all. It decided it was respect. Respect for yourself and respect for every person who has to look at you. Your culture told its men that caring was weakness. This one told its men that not caring was rude. Same exact gesture, opposite verdict. And I will not stand here and pretend the rest of it is gentle, because I saw the rest of it from the inside. The idol on your screen did not pick that jaw or that waist in any way you would call free. There was a contract he signed before he understood what it was. There was a scale he stepped onto in front of other people who wrote the number down. There were managers who treated his face like inventory because on the company books, that is precisely what it was. The smile you find so warm got run again and again until it stopped belonging to the boy who first smiled it. The tenderness was choreographed. The way he looks down the lens like he loves you got blocked out by a director the same way you block out a punch in a fight scene. So that is the man who broke your filing system. Standing in full view. He is the most disciplined kind of man alive on this planet. He is also a product with a sticker price. Both at once in one body, the exact contradiction, your world dragged into the yard and lit on fire. The softness is real. The discipline underneath it is brutal. And some of the men paying for it are paying with things you would never lay on the table. Their appetite, their 20s, the face in the mirror they slowly stop recognizing as their own. So you are never looking at a feminine man. You are looking at a man held to a standard your own men got quietly told they were free to skip. That is why he glows on the screen. That is why the man across your kitchen does not. None of this was ever about gender. It was always about who got told to try. Which leaves one problem. By every rule of how a mind works, they should have killed it for you. I showed you the wires and the contract and the scale. The trick should be lying dead on the floor. It is not. You are going to keep watching him anyway. And nobody has ever told you why. I will. And it is not the reason you braced for. You are not broken. You are not addicted. You are starved. The whole story lives in the gap between those two words. Look at what the manufactured man actually hands you. He answers. When the moment needs him, he is right there with the right words at the exact second they have to land. He remembers what she said 3 episodes back. He notices the haircut before she has to point it out. He stands in the rain because in his world, standing in the rain still means something to somebody. Not 1 second of it is real, and every second of it is the precise thing the men around you quietly stopped doing. But do not hang the blame on them yet. The man across the table does not leave your text for 3 days because he is cruel. He waits 3 days because somewhere back there, he learned that answering fast makes a man look weak. He learned it from the same factory that burned the 3rd drawer. He got disarmed too. Every single person in this story got handed a smaller version of himself and got told to call it maturity. That is why the screen wins. Not because you are simple, because the screen is the last kitchen on earth, still cooking the meal your whole world quietly took off the menu. And then there is the distance, and this is the engine nobody ever says out loud. Korea looks the most romantic from the exact chair you are sitting in tonight, the far one, because distance is the most generous editor there has ever been. Distance cuts the rent. Distance cuts the relatives who sit at dinner and measure out loud how much future is left in you. Distance cuts the husband who walks in after 14 hours with nothing left over for another human being. Distance keeps only the soft part and throws the rest on the floor. The look and the coat, and the boy standing in the rain. You are not in love with Korea. You are in love with the trailer for Korea. And this is where it should simply end. A little sad and very easy to explain, and we can roll the credits and you would feel seen. But that is not the real reason this one found you tonight. The real reason is the word. You did not reach for lonely. You did not reach for homesick, for something the world used to have. You reached for gay. Your mind grabbed that exact word in half a second out of every word it could have grabbed. And the word it grabbed told on you. The last room in this house is the one with the mirror. Walk in. So we are at the mirror. In that half second, your mind admitted something, and then it hoped you would forget. You watch a man be gentle, and your very first thought was not what a rare man. It was a label. It was gay. Stay on why that word and none of the others. You did not reach for lonely, and you did not reach for old-fashioned. You reached for the single explanation your world still keeps stocked on the shelf. Because in the place you come from, a soft man owes everybody a reason. He is not allowed to simply be tender and leave it at that. Tenderness in a man has to be explained away like a strange noise coming from the engine. And your culture kept exactly one explanation in the cabinet after it burned the rest. He must be gay. That is the last door a man can walk through and still be gentle without one person in the room asking him to account for himself. Think about how small that is. A whole sex narrowed down to 2 settings, hard and silent, or soft and therefore something other than straight. There is no third setting left because your world carried the third setting into the yard 200 years ago. So read what really happened to you tonight. Your mind did not glitch. Your mind worked perfectly. It gave the correct answer to a broken question. And the broken question was never once about Korea. It was about home. That is the confession sitting underneath this entire video. When you genuinely cannot picture a straight man being gentle without a footnote, that is not a fact you picked up about Korean men. That is a quiet report on what got done to the men they handed you. A long time ago, your world ruled that a gentle straight man was a contradiction in terms, so it stopped producing him. And now when one walks onto your screen, the only folder you have left to drop him in, is the one somebody labeled gay. So let me say the thing you came here quietly hoping a stranger would finally say to you. You were never confused. You were never shallow for a single second of any of this. You were the first person in your whole house to notice that a kind of man went silent decades ago and never came back. And you were the first one brave enough to miss him out loud. That is not a flaw in you. That is the most honest thing in this entire video. But I am not going to let you walk out of here wrong. Because the country that kept this man did not keep him out of love for him. Korea kept the soft man by building a machine that prints him and builds him and owns the face he was born with. The tenderness on your screen is completely real. The man behind it usually does not get to be tender once the red light goes off. He gets to be exhausted, the same way I am exhausted. So carry the right thing out of here tonight. Not he is secretly gay. Not he is the last real love left anywhere in the world. Carry this instead. You are looking at something genuinely beautiful and something built in a factory. And the only reason it felt more real than your actual life is that it was engineered to feel that way by people who studied the precise spot where your world went cold years ago and aimed everything they had right at it. It is 2 in the morning in Gwangju. The kids are asleep down the hall. I am a tired man in an ordinary apartment who still puts the sunscreen on before bed, who still sits up writing at this hour because some part of me never managed to stop being a man of feeling. The drawer your world burned is not some exotic thing across an ocean. It is not even far away. So the next time one of them crosses your screen and your mind goes reaching for that word, stop your hand before it opens the drawer and ask the better question instead. Not what is wrong with him, what went missing back home. It is late, the apartment is quiet, the country outside is tired, and the softest man left standing in the whole story is the one too worn out to lie to you. Stay real, because that's what I crave. See you in the next episode.